It says I am live. I'm going to go on YouTube and see if it's actually live from my channel. It looks like it says yeah. A little bit of a delay. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So around a 10-second delay. All right, so it's live. Hi guys. I don't know if you guys are joining from Arizona, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. In the meantime, you can always watch it if you're not here. But this is 3.7 from CSAwesome, comparing objects. And what we've done previously, connecting what we've done before, 3.6, last week, we finished up De Morgan's Law, and we talked about using the exclamation point for the opposite of. We worked through some truth tables. And now we're moving on. I believe this is the last lesson in Unit 3, before we move to some review stuff. So we're going to see what we can fit in here. We're going to spend as much time as possible in this 80-minute period. Is that what we got? So this is 3.7, comparing objects. It says, comparing objects is a little different than comparing primitive typed values like numbers. So we have objects and object-oriented programming. Think back to when in Unit 2, when we were creating the turtles, and we created Myrtle the turtle and Yertle the turtle. Those were objects, right? So we've compared values and variables, but we're going to start comparing objects. It says objects can be very complex and have many attribute values or instance variables inside of them. You know that working with those turtles, there was a lot of details abstracted from you that you couldn't see behind the scenes how those turtles worked. You just knew that a turtle showed up on the screen. Okay, so it says, for example, the turtle objects have many instance variables like name, width, height, X position, Y position, and those change, right? Throughout the program that we ran, the turtle moved and the X and Y position would change. You can edit its height, its weight, and we even called it by different names. It says when you compare two turtle objects, we need a specially written equals method to compare all of these values. Okay, so when comparing objects, we're going to use the equals method, and it's also used for strings. It says in this lesson, we'll take a look at string objects and the difference between comparing them with the double equal sign, which was okay in Python, but not okay here, versus the equals method. Okay, so 3.7.1, string equality. The equals method for strings compares two strings letter by letter. So it makes sure that the string has the exact same sequence of characters. Even if it's the same characters in a different order, that's not okay. It has to be the same sequence of the same characters. Notice also there were times where we've received user input, and let's say, what's your name? And I say Mr. Danza, and then hit space and then enter. If that's the case, what happens is, if I'm comparing it, seeing if it's equal to Mr. Danza without a space, Mr. Danza with a space is different. It's not exactly the same. So we have different methods we've used in the past to cast it to lowercase, but this is the dot equals, okay, method. And we'll be taking a string, and then you type dot equals afterwards, and you compare it to the other string. It says it's only true if S1 and S2 have the same characters in the same order. With strings and other objects, you must always use equals instead of the double equal sign to check their equality. Okay, so we're making sure that we are using equals instead of the double equals. It says you'll almost always use equals. So let's talk about it. The double equal sign operator is used to compare object variables. It returns true when two variables refer to the same object. These variables are called object references and aliases for the same object. We'll talk more about that later. With strings, this happens when one string variable is set to another. So it gives me an example below. It says figure 1, string aliases. We have string A. We're declaring a variable called A. It's a string. And we said new string. And inside of that, in the string class, we typed in hi. Also, then, we create a string called B, and we create a new string called by. Okay, so the characters HI versus the characters BYE. Now it's saying we're creating a third string called string C, and we're just assigning it the value of B. Whatever B is in that instance right then, C now takes on that value. Okay, now check this out. A is high. You see this here on my screen. A is high, and B and C are both by. Says if you run the following code, what will be printed? Well, if we look at it, we have public static void main string args. We have string 1, okay? S1 is hello. S2 is by. S3 has been assigned the value of S2. So what are we printing out? If I print out S3, it should print out by. Is string 2 double equal string 3? Is it equal to string 3? And then we use the string method below. So we're seeing if it's true or false. So let's run it and see what we get. Okay. Both of them, in this case, equated to true, where string 2 had the same value as string 3. And that we're also using the dot equals method, that also returned true. And we passed that. It says the following video traces through the code above and shows how equals, equals, and equals work with string objects in memory. Let's go ahead and just click on it.
Okay, when we run our class, we run the method public static void main string square bracket args. I'm going to draw a stack frame to keep track of our local variables, and I'll write the name main alongside of it. Okay, my first line says string S1 gets a new string hello. So I start on the left-hand side, and that creates a new variable named S1. So S1 is a variable reference, so that's that pocket here. Now I go to the right-hand side, and I say new string hello. So that makes a new string, which I'll represent like that. It has hello. So we did the left-hand side, which made that variable for us, then we did the right-hand side, which made the string, and then the equals sign that assignment statement that gives us a reference. S1 now references that string. Okay, the next line, line 6, super similar. So S2 is a variable that references a string. The right-hand side says new string by. So we're going to create a new string that has by in it. And then the assignment is going to say S2 gets a reference to that new string. Okay, our next line says string S3 gets S2. Okay, so the left-hand side is similar to before. So S3 is our new variable. It's going to be a variable reference, and then it gets a copy of whatever S2 is. So here's it's going to get a copy of that remote control. So essentially, copy means something also references that same object. So here we give S3 gets a copy of S2, so it references that same object. S2 and S3 are keeping track of or referencing that by. Okay, now let's look at line 8 says we say system dot out S3, so we're going to print out S3 so we can follow that reference and it'll print out the string by. Then we say system dot out line S2 equal S3. So that's checking to see if S2 and S3 are equal. Since they both reference the same object, these are identical row controls, so these are equal. And that last
And
line,
that last line, line 10,
says
says system.out.println S2 dot equals S3.
So now on
So now on
it's
it's
going
going
to the
to the
strings,
strings,
which
which
happen to be the same
so
strings,
it's
so
a
it's a
little
little
bit
bit
weird,
weird,
and
and
comparing
then
them
character by
character
character,
so
Y,
yeah,
those two things
are
are
equivalent.
So equal
checks the
checks
variable
to
to
see
see
if
if
they're
they're
identical.
identical.
Dot
And
equals
dot
is
equals
going
is
to
going to
compare to see if
compare
they're
to see if they're
equivalent.
equivalent.
Okay. There's the picture. I think we get the point there. Okay, 372, it says equality with new strings. If you use the new keyword to create a string, it will always create a new string object. So even if we create two string objects with new that contain all the same characters in the same order, they will not refer to the same object. Okay, so with that, I have string 1, I get hello. String 2, I've also assigned it to say hello. Now if I print it out, I'm printing out to see if S1 is equal to S2 and then using the dot equals method. So let's see the difference between the two. Okay, so it's saying that S1 is not the same thing as S2. That's why it printed out false. But if you compare what the value is inside of string 1 and string 2, dot equals compares it letter by letter. So that's why that equates to true. So if you don't know this and you use the equal sign when comparing two strings, you could get the wrong result. So most of the time, the best rule of thumb to use is that we are going to be using the dot equals. Equals just sees if it's referring to the same object, right? But if we're looking to see if the user input that was collected is equal to the name Greg or Josh or Christina or someone in this classroom, we would compare using the dot equals method. Okay, watch the video below to see how the code works in memory. I think we can get around doing this because I just explained it, but just to prove that I clicked on it, I'll do that so that way I get credit for clicking on it. Okay, and the same representation, right? String 1 and string 2 are completely different objects. They have the same string, the same collection of characters that look exactly the same. So the dot equals says these two are not the same object, but the characters HELLO, the dot equals method tells us that these are the same collection of characters. Okay, questions on that? It says, note that you can also create strings using string literals instead of new, like string S is assigned the value of hello. String literals behave a little differently because they are reused if they already exist instead of creating a new object. Okay, but you should not see questions with string literals and equals on the AP exam. Okay, a note, only use equals with primitive types like int, right? We've used it with int and other Boolean values, right? Use equals, not equals when we're talking about strings, okay? So let's walk through this code. It says, my string S1 says hi, S2 says bye, and S3 says hi again. Is S2, sorry, then S2 is assigned the value of S1, okay? So which is true after it executes? It says S1 equals S2 and S1 equals S3. That would be false because we're referring to two different objects. B says string 1 equals string 2, and S1 dot equals S3, right? So we're looking at this. S2 has been assigned the value of S1 in this very last line here. I'll call this line 4, right? So we know that is referring to the same object. So that first part is true. S1 has the same value of high. So that's also true. Why doesn't C work? Well, C says S1 is not equal to S2 when we literally just said in line 4 that S2 is assigned the value of S1. So in this case, I don't even have to go past this because S1 not equal to S2, that is false. And I will short circuit out of that, knowing that I don't even need to look any further. So B is the correct answer there. Okay. Next one. It says, which of the following is true after the code executes? Right? Let's piece through. String 1 is the same object as string 2. Is that true? No, it's not true. So I'm going to short circuit out of that and move to the next one. I have S2 dot equals S3. No, string 2 has a completely different value. String 2 says by. String 3 says hi. Those are not equal. Okay. C says string 1 is not equal to string 3. That's true because they're different objects. And string 1 has the same value as string 3. That's true as well. So true and true equates to true. So C must be true. Okay, another one. Which of the following is true after the code executes? Okay, let's piece through each one. I have string 1 equals string 3. No, because they are completely different objects. String 2 dot equals string 3. No. String 2 says by. String 3 says hi. All right. Then in C, it says string 1 equals string 2, which is not true. They're different objects, so that's false. But then there's an exclamation point on the outside. So false then changes to true. So that left side is true. Let's look at the right side. Okay. S1, is S1 the same object as S3? No, they have the same value there, but they're different objects. So that's false, but there's an exclamation point on the outside there, right here. So because there's an exclamation point on the outside on C right there, that then turns the false to true. True and true equates to true. So C must be my answer. Okay. What's null? Comparing with null. Okay. We'll touch on this briefly here. I'm sure it won't go into too much detail. It says one common place to use the equal, equal, or exclamation point equal with objects is to compare them to null to see if they really exist. What is null? Null means it just doesn't exist. You can have a blank string, right? And then you can have null. Null, it doesn't even exist. Sometimes short circuit evaluation is used to avoid an error if the object doesn't exist, right? If we have a variable that doesn't exist and we're then trying to use that later, you might get a certain null pointer exception, which we'll talk about. It says, remember that short circuit evaluation is used that if the first condition is not true in an AND compound condition, then it will short circuit out. So it says, try the following code to see a null pointer exception. This just means whenever you see the word exception, just think error. So exception, think error. An error message pops up on your screen and says null pointer exception. It says if you don't see the exception because of the auto grading, you can copy it into a pencil icon. We'll run it, see what happens. Okay. I ran it and got this java.lang null pointer exception. And then down here it says null test Java 6. So it says it starts because of something in line 6. So let's read this. I have my main method right here. Then I have this string s, and I assign the value null. Check out this keyword null. Eyes on the screen. Null is a keyword that means it doesn't exist yet. Maybe I'll come back to it later. Sometimes it might make sense that when you have an idea for a project that you want to create, you're already creating the variables ahead of time and you haven't assigned them values yet. So you put null there instead of 0. Maybe you put null because we haven't used it yet. We haven't figured out what we wanted to assign that string to. Then in line 6, this is where the error occurs. It says s.index of a is greater than or equal to 0. But the problem is it's comparing string s, but s is null, which means it doesn't exist, right? So we get an error that returns back and says, hey, null, right? We get this problem here. It says since s is null, trying to access the index of s throws this error called null pointer exception, right? It's a mouthful, but we'll talk about it later. Comment out the first if statement and run the program again, okay? So we'll just put comment on each one of these lines right here, okay? And then it says the second if statement avoids the error with short circuit evaluation. So check this out. If s is not null, okay, so if it's not blank, right, if it doesn't exist, and it is actually, if there's an index of a, right, then print this out. So notice this line we commented out was just the second half of that compound condition. But now we've thrown in s is not equal to null, right? So if we run it now, okay, we get this here. It says check that main actually has apple and a. So the last thing it wants us to do is change s to set it to apple instead of null. So let's say I finally have a value that I want to assign s to. So I'm going to say apple. Okay, so in line 5, string s is assigned the value of apple. And I run it again. And it evaluates and says, what index is a in this? In this word. And it should return. Okay. It says in the first line and run the code. Now change s to the apple to now change s to set it to apple instead of null in the first line. So I have apple contains an a. It wants me to then uncomment out these lines as well. Okay, so I took the comment out and it works. Right, so I commented out line 6, 7, 8, and 9 originally, and then I had to go back and take that comment out. So that's what your code should look like. Okay, that was our null test. Okay, I'm going to skip this video as well. I'm going to click on it to just get credit and say I watched it. We explained this already. All right, 374, programming challenge, tracing code. What will the following code print out? Trace through the code by drawing diagrams on what is going on in memory. Okay, so then what does it want us to do in the end? Just telling us to trace it. Okay. So let me zoom out a little bit here. It says write your tracing table here. Maybe we just walk through. We'll trace this. Okay, so I'll say to trace through code, write down a variable in each column in a table. We can do that. So I'll say S1, S2, S3, and S4. I'll put it all right there. And then as it goes through, we'll assign each one. Okay, so string 1 starts off null. So I'm going to go down here. And I'm just going to put it as null. String 2 is high, string 3 is high, and string 4 is by. So string 2 is high. String 2 is by. And string 4 is high. Okay, so high, high, by. So we're just tracking this. So if we can all track this together. So string 1, null, string 2, high, string 3, high, string 4, by. Now, okay, if string 1 is null, okay, then assign S1 to whatever is an S2. So let's go down here. S2 is high, so I'm now going to assign S1 high. Okay. Let's move on here. Let's check out this if. If string 1 equals string 2, are they the same object? Are string 1 and string 2 the same object? Look right above. Above, we assigned S1 to S2 as the same object, right? So, yes, it is the same object. So it's going to print out S1 and S2 refer to the same object, right? So I'm just going to take that and just throw it down there because that's what would have printed out. Okay, now let's look at this if. Is string 2 and string 3, even though their values are the same, are they referring to the same object? What do we think? String 2 and string 3, are those the same object? No, they're not the same object. The dot equals method would return true because they have HI, but they are not the same object. String 2 is different from string 3. So that would not run. That would not print that out. Let's look at this line right here. These lines. Is string 3 and string 4 referring to the same object? No. They don't even say the same thing. String 3 says high and string 4 says by. Last one. If S1 dot equals S2, well, that's true. And string 2 dot equals S3, that's also true. Print out S1, S2, S3 are equal. That's true. So I'm going to copy that and paste it down here. So this is what I started with. This is what I was tracing, right? Let's look at 3710 right there, right? I just traced it using these. And then this is what actually would have printed out. S1 and S2 refer to the same object, and S1, S2, S3 are equal. Okay? Looks like they're pretty lazy in that assessment. They're basically just like, type whatever you want in there. Whole point was to know the difference between this equals and dot equals. Okay, summary. We have double equals to identify if we're referring to the same object, right? It says object reference values can be compared to identify aliases, right? Let's say Myrtle, the turtle, also goes by M, right? We want to make sure that that is also identified. A reference value can be compared with null. We talked briefly about null. We'll talk more about it later, I guess, but not in this lesson. Okay, AP practice. Okay, let's look at this. Consider the following code segment. It says string message is going to say AP practice. String note also says AP practice. And the memo just says memo. Then I have an integer called I, and it's assigned the value of 5. Okay, if message dot equals note, that is true. So this left side right here, that's true. And message dot equals memo. Does message equal memo? No, that's false. But there's an exclamation point on the outside, which makes it true. So true and true will then move that condition more. We won't short circuit out. We'll keep it going. Now, message is assigned what was in note. Okay, so now they are the same object, right? They're referring to the same object. Message is now referring to note, even though they were originally separate. Now they're the same. Okay, if message equals note, that is true. Okay, that is true. And message dot length is greater than I. Okay, is message greater than 5 characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Did I count right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, is 11 greater than 5? Yes. So we're going to move even further into this. I is now assigned 3. Okay, and memo is assigned message dot substring I. So whatever the third value is onward, we're going to count towards it. Remember, computers start counting at 0. So I'm going to go up to message 0, 1, 2, 3. Notice that there isn't a second condition we passed the substring. So it's not going to have an end. It's just going to take from index 0, 1, 2, 3. It's going to start there at 3 and then go all the way to the end. So it will just be practice. So memo now has the value practice with a capital P. Okay. Which of the following expressions evaluate to true after the code segment above executes? Okay. So message equals note. Okay. Well, that is true because in this line right here, we assign that object, right? And message equals memo. Is message the same thing as memo? No, it's not. So it's not A. Let's look at B. Message dot equals note. Do message and note both have the same value, AP practice? Yes, it does. Okay. And message dot equals memo. Does message have the same collection of characters as memo? Memo only says practice, where message says AP practice. So B would not be true either. Let's move on. Is message referring to the same thing as note? Well, yes, we made that true in this line right here. And memo dot equals practice. That is true. Memo does equal practice. So true and true. C should end up being our answer. Maybe I'm wrong though. Let's check it. Yes. Okay. C is the right answer. 9 of 9 activities completed on this page. Completed. Well done. Now, if I were to show you this 2 weeks ago, you'd look at that and be like, what in the world is that? Even now, you might look at it and be like, I have no idea what that is. Okay. It's going to take practice. That's why we go through this. If you are not, like if you're doing things for another class, or if you're not focused in on this, This has to be. I know these classes are long, and I know we have a lot to get through, but classes all across the country are all learning the same stuff, and they're all learning it at the same pace. So that might require you to do some things outside the classroom. Some teachers and schools just say, all right, we're doing 3-7 today, ready, go, right? And you're left on your own and don't really have the opportunity to do it. If you'd like to do it on your own, you're more than welcome to. But I walk through this step by step so that way you can see it. It's not to cripple you or give you a crutch that you can lean on, but it's to help you walk through it and also to be interactive so you guys can ask questions. Okay? So that's that. 9 out of 9 activities completed. Moving on to the summary. 3.8, Unit 3 summary. In this chapter, you learned about conditionals, right? Unit 1 was just like intro. Unit 2, objects. Unit 3, conditionals. Okay. Unit 4 is loops. Start looping things in Unit 4, right? This is where all the middle schoolers I teach, right? They loop things in forever loops over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think it's the funniest thing in the world that like they made this spinning cat in Scratch with colors flying everywhere, right? And that they made this forever loop that goes on forever. Okay. It says conditionals are used to execute code when a Boolean expression is true or false. A Boolean expression is one that either true or false, like x is greater than 0, right? We talked about all these. This is what your quiz might be on this week. We have a Unit 3 quiz. I suggest walking through each of these. We talked about all of this. If any of these vocab words or phrases don't make sense, let me know. I can show you where to turn back to or also help you through to make sense of it. Okay, the keywords we used: if, else, and else if. Java does not have elif, right? Python was nice and combined those words together. You instead have to type 3 extra characters, S, E, and space. I know that's annoying, but there you go. All right, let me reset this. It says drag the definition from left to right. Let's look at the definition. Joins 2 conditions, and it will only be true if both of the conditions are true. Which one is this? Is it an expression, a Boolean expression, conditional, logical and, or compound Boolean expression? It will only be true if both of the conditions are true. Logical and. The double and ampersand, right? The symbol that looks like a treble clef, kind of, right? Am I saying that right? Treble clef, bass clef, treble clef. It's not a treble clef, but used to execute code only when a Boolean condition is true. We also have an expression that is either true or false. It's a Boolean expression. An expression with 2 or more expressions joined together with logical ors and ands. It's compound Boolean expression. Okay. This says used to execute code only when a Boolean expression is true. That would be a conditional. Think about it. If conditionals are if statements. If something is true, then do this. So it's used to execute code or run code only when it's true. That's a conditional. So this is what I got. Are yours in the same order?
No.
It doesn't say Boolean expression at the top?
No, actually, no.
Really?
Both of them are both.
Good. Fool you. Trick you. You're correct. More. Okay. Used to execute code when at least one of 2 conditions is true. Which one is it? Used to execute code when only one of two conditions is true. Logical OR. Okay, the OR only executes if one is true. If both are true, that's great, but I only need one to happen to be true, right? I'm only going to kick Josh out of class if he fails or he says something mean about me on announcements one morning, right? Right? He can do both, but only one needs to happen for me to kick him out of class, right? There you go. Next one. One or more statements enclosed in an open curly brace and a closed curly brace. Is that an if, block of statements, or De Morgan's laws? Block of statements or blocks of statements. Used to start a conditional and execute code if a condition is true. This is very similar to the one we last had. It said the answer was conditionals, but now the answer is if. De Morgan's laws. Think of the distributive property. Remember we talked about that exclamation point being distributed. Used to distribute. Hear of De Morgan's laws. Think that distributive negation. We're correct. That's what the code was, or that's what the blocks looked like for me. Okay. Common mistakes, right? My FAQs, if I could write FAQs using the assignment operator instead of an double equal sign. Okay. Putting a semicolon at the end of your if like conditional line. Make sure to put inside the statement though when it's actually being run. Using two ifs instead of a compound, instead of like if and else, right? Else if might be important. We use the grade book example for that one. That's a classic example. Common problem two is just mixing up and or. The double ampersand is and. Those two pipes are or, right? So some common mistakes. Completed, well done. You guys worked really hard on that one. 3-8, done. Moving on, 3-9. Let's do it. Let me reset all of these first. Reset. We'll see how far we can get through this. I didn't know today was going to be an A day. Got to school and didn't realize that would be the case. That one too. Reset. All right. Everything's reset. I say that because I didn't expect to have an 80-minute block of this class. It's nice, but I didn't realize we had off school on Friday. Okay, let's look at this. It says drag the following blocks in here, and you just kind of have to like by now look through this and see what needs to be done. Okay, so we always have to put our variables first, right? Yours are not in the same order. Yours doesn't say 3. Question? No. Okay, so I'm going to put int guess is assigned 10 and int answer is assigned 5. Okay. We'll say if guess is less than the answer, we want to print out your guess is too low. Okay. And then we have this else if. If I guess you could use else if guess is the correct answer, say you are right. Anything else, print out your guess is too high. So it's good practice to have if, else. You wouldn't say if, else, and then else if, right? It would be the else if would go before the else. Okay. So I just use context clues to make that work. That's what my code looks like. Okay. Next up, it says the following program segment should print either you can go out if you don't have any homework and you have cleaned your room. Otherwise, it should print out you can't go out. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit here. Let's bring that class in there. So public class test1, I dragged that out. And then my main method, I'll close both of them right there too. So my class, my main method. And then let's pull our variables out here, right? A Boolean, put it inside of this. The Boolean homework left is assigned false. The Boolean cleaned is assigned true. Okay, so there's no homework left, and I have cleaned my room. So that's a good sign. It's not us. Saying if there's not any homework left, so that negation there, right? If there's not any homework left and the room is cleaned, print out, you can go out. Else, anything else, you cannot go out. Okay. Let's run this. Perfect. Okay. So my class, main method, variables, if condition, if there's no homework left and you've cleaned your room, then you can go out. Else you can't go out. So you can't go out until that's true. Okay, the main method in the following class should print if x is in the range of 1 to 10 inclusive or not. Okay, so whenever I have your projects, right, whenever I'll use AP Computer Science Principles as an example, I give you a 1 out of 10, right? One through 10 are the values that I give you, or a 0 if you don't do it. But if you turn it in, right, you turn it on time, you're going to get somewhere between a 1 and 10. So this is going to test whether or not the number entered is there. So I'm going to open up my class, open up my main method, and there's this block right here that closes both of them, right? We then have a variable called x, and we assigned it the value of 3. And then I'm going to have a condition. I'll say if x is greater than 1 and greater than or equal to 1 and x is less than or equal to 10, right? We'd use the and because if we just did the first one, it would short circuit out. Like if we did this one over here, it would short circuit out. If our value was 79, it would short circuit out and say, yeah, that's true. But really, both conditions have to be true. It's inclusive. So between 1 and 10. Okay. So if it's true, print out, x is between 1 and 10. Anything else, print out x is not in the range. In this case, we would get true because 3 falls within that range. There you go. That's what it looks like. Next one. We have a class. Open up my class. public static void main string args, my main method. Going to close it. What is it asking me to do? It says the following method in the main method in the following class should print out if a string has the word ringing in it. But the blocks have been mixed up and includes an extra block that isn't needed in the solution. Okay. So let's look at this. If index, let me see the message dot index of, it would be this, the index of method was lowercase index and then camel case of. Okay. So basically, if it's in ringing, right? If ringing is in the message, I guess I should put the message in there first, right? So I have string message. Is that the phone ringing? And then if message.index of ringing is greater than or equal to 0, which means if it's in there, if your phone's ringing, then answer the phone. Anything else, say, I don't hear anything. Right? So I have my class, I have my main method, I have my string message, which says, is that phone ringing? If ringing is in that message, say, answer the phone. Anything else, say, I don't hear anything. So let's run this. It's just perfect. All right. In the main method in the following class, it should print if your favorite food is junk food, saying pizza and wings are junk food or not. But the blocks have been mixed up and includes an extra block that is not needed. Okay. I sliced a pizza last night. Public class test 1. And then I have my main method. So my opening up my class, opening up my main method, and closing both right there. Right. Then I'm going to go ahead and throw in all these variables. Favorite food is kale. I like kale, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite food. Right? Madison, favorite food? Steak? Yeah. How do you like your steak? Medium. Christina, favorite food? Potatoes? Mashed potatoes or just like baked potatoes? Nice. Nice. Wells, favorite food?
Japanese curry.
Japanese curry?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like curry. Alec, favorite food?
Chicken.
Chicken? What kind of chicken?
Chicken breast.
Chicken breast?
Yeah.
No. Wells disagrees. No. Jonathan, favorite food?
Air fried corn.
Air fried corn?
Yeah.
How is that? How do you? So I feel like that'd be like popcorn, right? How do you do something air fried? How's that work?
You kind of put some seasoning on it, and butter it, and then you put in the air fryer.
Oh, that sounds good. We'll have to bring in everybody's favorite food one day. Madison will cook a steak, right? Jonathan will air fry some corn. Josh, favorite food? Ah, we are on the same page. Peanut butter and jelly. I want to say that's my favorite snack. That and pretzels. Greg, you eat food. Come on. What's your favorite food? What are some of your favorite foods?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Fettuccine Alfredo.
Okay, so pasta,
Some beef and broccoli.
beef and broccoli.
Um,
Okay. Jordan, what's your favorite food?
I don't know. Chicken.
How do you prepare it?
I just put it in the oven.
Just put it in the oven? No seasoning whatsoever. Just take the chicken breast, put it in the oven. What?
I just eat it with like
Okay. I'll have to come over and show you guys how to cook. Josh, favorite food? Favorite food?
Pizza.
What kind of pizza?
Cheese pizza.
Cheese pizza?
I know that's a little plain, but like can't go wrong. With the
Well,
classic.
this is saying pizza's junk food,
Yeah.
right? So if your favorite food equals pizza, right? It's saying, so that would be false. And in this case, it would say, is wings equal to pizza? That would be false. So we'd print out if your favorite food is, Boolean, fave pizza. If your favorite food is pizza or your favorite food is wings, print out, sorry, Josh, your favorite food is junk food. Yeah, how dare you? Okay. Anything else, your favorite's not junk food. So if your favorite food is chocolate chip cookies, not junk food, according to this program. All right. Biased against pizza and wings. I wouldn't say junk. If I'm thinking junk food, I'm thinking like Cheetos or like, you know.
That's real junk food.
How dare they speak meanly about pizza like that? All right, next example. I just pulled out my class test 1 and then my my main method, close it up. Says the following class should print you are fine. Okay, I thought you are fine. You are fine if you are speeding. No, should print you're fine. So you're going to get a fine for speeding. Have any of the drivers here? Have you guys ever got pulled over yet? No? Anyone got pulled over? I got pulled over for speeding one time. And it's because there was like a trap. No, sorry, 2 times. It's because of a trap.
Oh.
It's because it's like at the top of the hill, it's like 40, it was 50 miles an hour at the top of the hill. And you start going down the hill and you get to the bottom of the hill and it says 35. Right? And there was a cop waiting at the bottom of the hill. Pulled me over. I was like, what? I was like, I'm literally going down a hill already at the speed limit. So now I'm going over the original speed limit. And now there's a new sign there. And where he pulled me over, I could literally still see the like speed limit sign. Right? Like, dude, like I just crossed the line. Anyway. So, Corbin, you ever been pulled over for speeding? No. All right. So let's see here. If you are going over 65, but less than 75, the fine is $50. So if we're going over 65, but less than 75, okay, it's the and, print out $50 fine, right? Then it says, if you're going at least 75, so at least 75 and less than 85, the fine is $100. Over that, the fine is, so 85 and over, the fine is, I guess I already had it. Now, I need to also add this variable in here. I forgot to add that variable. Hey, guys, so it should look like this. I have the class. I have my main method. I then have this integer, the variable called speed. It's 90. So what should the fine be? Someone's going 90 miles an hour. What should the fine be? 200. Okay. Let's look at the next one. The main method in the following class should print the alarm time. If it's a weekday, you should get up at 7 a.m. think that'd be too late to come to school here for most of you, right? Right? Waking up at 7 a.m. And if not, get up at 10 a.m. So on the weekend, you're going to sleep until 10. I wish, man, I can't remember the last time I slept in. Right? Open the class, main method. Then I have my closing my main method, right? Have my Boolean value. Is it the weekend? False. Okay. If it's not the weekend, we're going to wake up at 7 a.m. Anything else? The alarm goes off at 10 a.m. So my class, my main method, my variable is false. It's not the weekend. Print out 7 a.m. If it is the weekend, wake up at 10 a.m. Check it. Perfect. Great job. We did it. We got 3 more. Okay. The main method in the following class should print if you can text now. You can text if you are not driving and not eating. So I'm going to kind of speed through this a little bit so we can fit everything in. Okay. My test, my main method, close it up, my variables, right? If you are not driving and not eating, you can text now. Anything else, can't text now. Don't text while you drive. Don't text while you get your phone all dirty. The main method in the following class should print if your name starts with a vowel or not. Wow, this is a long one, so I'll zoom out on this one. Okay, I have my test 1, so that's my class. I have my main method. I'm going to close them. I have these variables, all these Booleans, right? So is A the first letter? Is E the first letter? Is I the first letter? Is O the first letter? Right? But first, I'm going to go ahead and put my string name in there, right? So that should be first. Then I'll go ahead, run my if. If the first letter is A, E, I, O, or U, print out, that starts with a vowel. Anything else, got to scroll down here. Anything else, got to drag and drop this down here. Anything else starts with a consonant. So this is what it looks like. I have my class, my main method. The name is Julian. That's my brother's first name. Okay. This may have been one of the ones I created. And then it says name substring 01. That pulls out the first letter. It then casts the lowercase using the to lowercase method. Then it checks A, E, I, O, or U. If any of those are true, it says your name starts with a vowel. If the name started with a J, in this case it does, it should print out starts with a consonant. And perfect. Zoomed out, this is what it should look like. Last one. The main method in the following class should print your grade for score. Okay. Open up my main method and my class, my main method, close it. Okay. My variable is score 73. Hopefully you didn't get a 73 on your test, but let's say you did. If score is greater than or equal to 90, what grade should we get? If you get a grade greater than or equal to a 90, it's a what letter grade? A. Else if score is then greater than or equal to an 80, what grade do you get? A B. And we'll continue to do this game, right? Else if the score is greater than or equal to 70, print C. 60, print D. And an E. I don't know why they do E's. We do F's here, right? Yeah, we don't do E's. We don't soften the blow. People, I think that's the reason why they do E's, because like, oh, we don't want them to feel like an F is like a hard thing to have. No, you got the F. All right, perfect. 11 out of 11 completed on this page. What time does class end? 50? 50?
55.
55. Oh, so we're good. We got 15 minutes. Let's keep going. Let's do this. Done 3-9. We did. What we did? We did 3-7, 3-8, 3-9. Hope we didn't miss class today, because now we're on 3-10. All right. Let me see how many. I don't know if we're going to get through 3-10. What if we start it? We'll start 3-10. We'll go as far as we can. Okay. 3-10. Toggle mixed up or write code practice. It says for the mixed up code problems, drag the blocks in the correct order. But we're not doing that. We're typing our code now. Okay. It says write code that tests the guess to see if it is equal to answer. Sorry. If it is equal to answer or too high or too low. Okay. If guess equal to answer. Oh my gosh, I'm going to write Python there. Sorry, guys. I'm open close braces. System dot out dot print line. My semicolon at the end. It says write code that tests the guess to see if the code is equal to the answer. If it's too high, so I'll say, I'm just not sure if it like when it evaluates my code, I'm wondering how it's gonna do this. Else if maybe I'll just say your guess is correct. And then if guess is higher than the answer, open and close braces. Right. I'll say system dot out dot print line. Your guess is, what do they say, too high. That's how they wrote it out. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? I'll just copy this, save you some time, paste it. Your guess is too low. I don't know if this is what they want. It's kind of vague. Let me see if this is what they wanted. So it was really just testing to see if somewhere in there I'd said your guess is too high, and seeing how many ifs I had, how many else's I had. But that works. Okay. That's my code. My main method. My int guess is assigned 10. The answer is 5. So it should print back and say your guess is too high. Okay. In this one, the print code, you can go out if you don't have any homework and you have cleaned your room. Otherwise, prints out you cannot go out. So if I'll say you don't have any homework left, put an exclamation point out in front, and your room is cleaned, print out system dot out dot print line you can go out. If you did not clean your room, okay, or then also if your homework, if you don't have any, sorry, if you do have homework left, then we're going to print out, I'm going to copy this. You cannot go out. Okay, so my main method, let's run it first, and then I'll walk back through it. Passed. Okay, so I have my main method, my Boolean, which is already there. Those the conditions were given. If you don't have any homework left, that exclamation point there is important. And you've cleaned your room, you can go out. Anything else, you cannot go out. All right. Next one, write code that tests if x is between 1 and 10. And prints 1 is less than or equal to x, which is also less than or equal to 10, or x is not. So I'll say if x is greater than or equal to 1, and x is less than or equal to 10, system dot out dot print line, we'll say, I'll just copy this right here. All right, I'll copy that. I'll bring it down here. So I have 1 is less than or equal to x. It's also less than or equal to 10. Okay. Anything else, I like to open and close my curly braces before I even type my code, so that way I don't forget to add it later. I'm going to copy this system.out.print line and just move it down below the else because I'm lazy with it. And I'm just going to take what was written up here, x is not in range, up here above the problem, copy it, come down here, paste it, come down here, paste it, x is not in range. Let's run it, see what we get. Passed. Okay, x is assigned the value of 3. Is 3 greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10? Yes, so it prints out it's within the range, right? Anything else, it would have printed out x is not in the range. So like -10, 500, those would print out x is not in the range. Okay. I'm supposed to write code that prints out if the message, so if message has the word ringing in it or not. So message dot index of ringing is greater than or equal to 1. I'll put that inside parentheses there. So if the message, basically it's saying is ringing inside of it, meaning it will return a number. Okay, if that number is greater than 1, it means that it's somewhere in there. Okay. It should print out system.out.println. Should print out answer the phone. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Print out. I don't hear anything. Okay. So in this example, I have my class. I have my main method. I have my message that says, is that the phone ringing? Now, message.index of ringing, it will return a number that is greater than or equal to 1 if ringing is actually in it, right? So that's a little algorithm, a little statement to show if there's actually a word in a phrase, right? It says answer the phone because it says is that the phone ringing? Ringing is in it, and it says answer the phone. Anything else? Say I don't hear anything. Okay, back to the junk food. They are hounding on this. Okay, your code should check. Okay, if your code should check to see if the variable fav food value is pizza or wings. So if fav food dot equals pizza, or the double pipes, copy this. Fav food equals wings. Print out system dot out dot print line. Sorry, Josh. Your fave is junk food. Anything else? Your favorite food are Cheetos or Doritos or I don't know. I don't know if like ice cream would be considered junk food. That's just like a dessert. Like junk food, like snacks. I don't feel like I hear the word junk food anymore. I think it's just like your fave is not junk. Okay. If fave food equals pizza or fave food equals wings, your fave food is junk. Let's run it. Good thing our favorite food's kale. Kale's good. Put a little olive oil on it, put a lot of salt on it, some pepper, put it in the oven for 10 minutes. Gets all crispy, some kale chips. Good stuff. But it's still no pizza. If you are going over 65 but less than 75, if speed, oh, sorry, parentheses. If speed is over 65 and speed is less than 75, System.out.print line. If it's over 65 and less than 75, we want to print out the fine is 50. Let's print out 50. If you're going at least 75 and less than 85, the fine is 100. So I'll say else if speed is including 75, greater than, if speed is greater than or equal to 75, and speed is, what do we say? Less than 85. So speed is less than 85. System.out.println goes 50, then 100. Then anything else, I'll say I don't know if I say else, because if you're going like 40 miles an hour, then the else would catch it. So I'll say anything. I'll leave this here. We can come back to this example next class. We'll come right back to it. You can leave this here as is. We will pick back up where we left off. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good day.